designer shades on tough and I'm scoping. Look good enough to get her, I'm hoping. Boy, I know I'm hot, cool out, cause I'm smoking. So girl, what you do for the outgrow? Boy, I wanna
when you show a certain amount of skin, we know what your content's about.
And hello there, it's your girl Meta Mars, and this is my Meta Moment. And I know I've been gone for a while yet, but the thing with that is, I've been doing some more inventory, been switching up a little bit of my, shadow work, and I've been working on my self-evolution. And this so far is going to be like my first update. Well, it would be like my second update for 2022. And in this specific moment, I'm going to talk about how far I've come so long, come within the spectrum of just discovering myself and things that I've been taking note of and getting more familiar with when it comes to what I want for my future endeavors, friendships, familyships, kinships, all that stuff. And I've come to the conclusion that I have been really unapologetically humble, right? And I like the idea of being humble, but then I didn't understand that within that spectrum of being unapologetically humble, that it kind of is a gateway to allowing things to continue in your life that you wouldn't necessarily have, what's for lack of a better word, accepted. Like you wouldn't have dealt with it as long as you did. You wouldn't have even thought like that was something that was that you had. You just, it puts you in a whirlwind, especially once you start to discover that those things aren't necessarily prerequisite to getting you to where you need to be. That it's actually an extra step of pushing you 2 steps back, if I may be honest with that situation. And with that, I'm like, why not? Like, I ran into another video online where a woman was talking about how she started her 2022, I guess her New Year's resolution more or less was to not be liked, right? And I thought that was a really interesting goal to facilitate going forth within this year, because with everything that happened within the last 2 or 3 years, it's like, haven't we get into the situation in ourselves of liking, being grateful, being, for at least just the little things, even if they're not major things, to just be happy and be overtly appreciative of our surroundings, and that, correlation to that sense. I instead of judging what she's saying, I just listened even longer and I got to understanding. The point of what she was getting at was for us to have a better understanding is that a lot of people who started out on that road of being humble were inadvertently or directly or not recognizing that they were snuffing out their own light. They were putting themselves down so that they can make other people feel comfortable in their presence, because either they had an aura about them or a dynamic or a personality that was above and beyond that just like lit up a room, or whatever reasons of insecurities or insecurities that pertain to the situation. It became probably one of those things, And she was saying that you're not helping yourself by making yourself seem small. You're not putting yourself any better in a position to be functionable for your mental and emotional well-being by being humble to people who that is exactly their purpose, is to make you feel small so that they can feel good about themselves. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And it's quite, so yeah. I thought isn't that kind of counterproductive to us trying to release negative energy by not putting out negative energy? And I had to sit there and really, gauge the ideas of what she was getting at, because when we think about it from the perspective of the main reason why we're in a situation where we're constantly feeling overwhelmed, we're constantly feeling like people are unappreciative of the things that we do, or even feeling used or undervalued, is because we want it to be people pleasers, we want it to be liked. And unfortunately, it doesn't give you the power that you need to actually get the objective that you're trying to obtain. And what it actually does is make people feel comfortable with the idea of disrespecting you, because they already feel like, okay, if she's already in this spectrum of trying to be pleasing, she's already in this ideal of trying to make you feel like you're worthy, so then she's gonna have to do what the hell I have to say so that I can feel, so that she can get that result, even if it's completely not what she's signed up for, or any individual in that case. And I understand it, so I thought, you know what, it can help. Let me try, let me see where it's coming from, in a sense, right? And I've gotten there, and I'm at this point now where I'm like, okay, can't be too bad, right? Just try new things. Like this light, I should have put on before. Okay, anyway, the light just popped on. I'm trying to figure something out, and I'm like, okay, like there's nothing wrong with that. Let's try new things. Let's try better things, because we can only help ourselves anticipate these things for better. And so far, I have alleviated a lot of unwanted anger, unwanted stress, unwanted, like, just emotional baggage that a lot of it was not even mine. It was other people's who I cared about, but because the advice I was probably potentially giving them, they weren't receiving it or not want to take it. So they would just come just like emotionally, like emotional dump on me, because I care about them. I want to be a listening ear. I want to be helpful, right? And inevitably what it just facilitated was their need to continue the mental and emotional and social turmoil, as opposed to just stopping it and just being like, hey, this is my boundaries, this is my love language, this is how I want to be treated. They just, oh no, I'm just gonna keep piling this up on myself, and when I can no longer take it, I'm gonna dump it on this person because they're caring enough to want to hear me, help me release this function that I put upon myself, instead of actually stopping it at the gate and not allowing it to be what it is. But now that I have kind of adopted the ideology of just like, I don't necessarily want to be liked anymore. And it's not even about not wanting to be liked. It's about the fact that I'm not doing things that typically I thought I need to do so that I can be accepted and I can maintain healthy, functional relationships with people. I don't think that that's okay to now emotionally dump on people and making them feel like they have to suck up and, can hold their mental and emotional baggage that can easily not be absorbed by them by just these few basic concepts. But then they just like don't care. They're just like, because I still want to get something out of the situation, I am now doing this. And whether that is okay or not, it's like, I can no longer be the catch pail, I can no longer be the filter, because I need to be more focused and humble on my aspects of what I think I need to do for myself. This is my 2022. It's just self-evolution. It has to occur somewhere, some way, some form. And I have to now put myself in a position to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's not going to go away. Like, life is still going to have their ups and downs, their trials and tribulations, their functionables and unfunctionables, and navigating that as best as possible with a little bit of weight per se. And I guess I get this analogy from, when they say when you have to go far, travel light. Like, how can you get far if you have nothing but the weight of the world and everybody else's crap on your shoulders? Like, I never even stopped to think that was most likely the reason why I'm not getting where I need to be, because I'm too busy quick to be the superwoman, supergirl, to just go and just suck up all the baggage, suck up all the angst and all the craziness, and it's not gonna actually stop. They're gonna keep, because they know they can dump on me, they're gonna keep picking up things along the way, and it's like, oh yeah, because she's just gonna she's gonna just come, dump it off, come, dump it off, come, dump it off. And it's like, technically, I'm not supposed to do that. Like, technically, there's supposed to be a solution to this problem, but no one has yet to say, hey, let's get an adequate solution. People are just like, well, you're gonna fucking deal with it because you want something from me and I want something from you. And I had to recognize, all I honestly wanted was camaraderie, and camaraderie, companionship, friendship, very, non-trivial things where they specifically was not their agenda. So we were all on different pages with the things that we wanted, and this is why the implosion continues to happen. Now, at this point in my life, this is one situation that I just recently happened, and I don't even want to dwell on it too much because I feel like it doesn't have enough significance to hold. It will be putting me back in that same cycle of holding other people's baggage and allowing it to dump on me. But I'm just going to vocalize it because it's just something that's in my mind, and I figure you guys might find it to be particularly interesting. Now, I do not see myself as I don't see myself as a user, more or less, if that makes sense. I don't think that my prime objective when I engage people is to find what I can get out of them, or it has to be a benefit for our engagement. I see people as as human beings, as individuals that deserve respect, dignity, and if need be, a conversation. I don't think it's okay to treat people by what you can obtain out of them, and in those spectrums of levels. I don't think that's okay. I think that's actually pretty shitty. But I was just also, that's how I view myself, and come to find out, a lot of people have experiences as well. I was just here watching another tuber, and she was pretty much stating what she just recently released, because she was having an issue with people who would come and troll her, and they were like, oh, but then you got all this time for this and this and this, but what about this, this and this? More or less just trying to pinpoint her flaws and trying to rag on her because of certain things that didn't go well in her past. And I'm just like, and so she decided for herself, she's like, you know what? I already have my receipts for how the situation occurred and how it was stacked against me, and I've done everything within my control and my power to get the best outcome from it, but I'm no longer going to continue to allow the situation to make me feel, or make me even more in a harder spot than I already am. I already have to deal with the emotional and mental, damage, but now it's trying to become a social thing where people, or a societal thing where people outside the situation who has very limited information about it is now throwing their two P's and Q's and 2 cents in the situation with no information whatsoever. So lucky for this young lady, she has definitely, lucky for this woman, excuse me, she has her receipts. And I totally was like, you know what? Even though I'm not the one passing judgment, I also like to obtain information to get a better understanding of how people end up in the, where they are in the current state, and how they become stronger or worse of a person. So I did the time, even though I was like, God damn, this is a lot of information to take in, even though it probably wasn't that much. It probably, in my opinion, it probably was like a movie and a half worth of time, but it was just like, let me just take the time out, because this person doesn't have to come explain anything. They don't have to prove to anyone what they say is true or how things went down. But lucky for them, they just what, I didn't want to initially, because I felt like what I mentioned before was because you still want to maintain camaraderie and and being able to engage with a person without there being malice. So you don't do certain things, and you allow individuals who have wronged you to pretty much scapegoat, and they can continue to wrong other individuals because no one speaks up and no one sits there and takes accountability for the situation. And we just assume that because the person that's done came out on the better end of the situation has has the most power at that point, because you have the narrative playing in your favor, and I'm not here to correct it. Or the person that you're downing is not correcting it, neither are speaking out about it. It becomes one of those situations where it's like, well, I no longer want to be silent. I want my side of the story to be heard as well. And I have more information, more receipts, more proof at the end of the day that what I'm saying to you is facts. So I took the time out to hear her side of the story, as opposed to assuming that what one person has been perpetuated in the situation is correct, simply because of their entitlement or their name or whatever. And I think during watching this information, I was completely like immersed in it, and I mean that in a way of, at moments I could not dissipate between her experience and what I was experiencing as well. And I'm just like, oh my freaking goodness, like we have so much in common when it comes to people taking advantage of you because there's a benefit out of it. And as long as they can take advantage of it, or when they no longer can, the pendulum starts to sway and shit starts going crazy, and it's like it does not even make sense that it's even going the way that it's going, because it became one of those moments where I couldn't separate myself from what she was experiencing and that time frame, and what I have experienced also in my own life. And the key correlation, like I mentioned before, was wanting to be accepted, wanting to do the right thing to people that you thought had your back, to people that you thought cared for you, when that actually was never the case. Like, it was never the case. It was just, for the people that are taking advantage of you, it was a come up. It was a tool to be used. There was no actual facilitation of kinship, friendship, or even camaraderie. It was just, to them it was business, even though they're your family. And it was just all heartbreaking to have experienced that, and then also to watch someone else in their own situation experience it, but because they had more to gain out of the situation of taking advantage of that individual, the backlash and the recourse of what happened was just so horrible, to where, because these people could no longer take advantage of that person, they facilitated an entire, in my personal opinion, for lack of a better word, like a kidnapping of, separating the mother from their child, like, because they no longer could financially be supplemented through the actions of this individual that they were using any longer. Like, and it's like, for me, I felt completely empathetic for the individual who had to experience that, because it's a shitty situation when you look at it and you recognize that these are supposed to be people that you bond with, you feel like, because you have been doing everything that you assume is best to maintain a healthy, functional relationship with these individuals, that you're doing the right thing. But these people don't actually want a functioning, healthy relationship with you. What they want is what they can gain out of you. And that shit hurts, especially once that you'll firstly recognize that's exactly what it is. And there's no doubt, like, there's no denying it, because there have been situations where I experienced as well, and she actually showed in her footage too, that they will sit there and they will deny it. Like, it will happen, the shit will go down, and then they will deny that it even happened, and it'll become like, oh, now it's your word against mine. But lucky for this woman, she had her receipts, and then because when you even start to protect yourself from individuals like this, the lashing out starts to happen. And I'm thinking in my mind and in myself as I'm watching this goes down on her channel and her videos and her logs, and I'm like, fucking A, like, that's where I was a couple years ago. Even though her situation happened way before mine, maybe 3 or 4 years before mine, I was in that exact same situation. where I was being turned on because I no longer could benefit people. I no longer could give them things that they were looking for, where it was supposed to be a come up. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that one no became a fucking landslide. And people get told no all the time, but now it's because there's no benefit. The relation doesn't exist anymore. All the time that we spent together, all the functionalities, all the even money that we have spent, all the bonding, that shit's out the window because there's nothing. There's a no, and there's no actual gain out of it. And it's like, God fucking damn! Like, how did I end up in this situation? How did I succumb to the manipulation? And it's like, oh shit! Like, I honestly thought, and this person did too, that they had people that had their back. And as soon, and I hate to say it, as soon as someone else that they appreciated more but did absolutely nothing for them came into the factor or became a catalyst, and something as simple as, look, I don't want to be disrespected, but that person is so comfortable disrespecting people and people allowing them or accepting that that's the way they are, but that's okay for them, it's not okay for me. And it's like, that became the divide, it was dawning. And I'm thinking, like, I was in this exact same situation. In fact, I'm still in a situation because I have not done what this woman has done, which is completely cut everybody the fuck off. And like, there is no engagement at all. Like, there is no interaction. They don't exist. And unfortunately for this woman, because they have something that is still tangible, which is, you know, her livelihood, her child, something that she, you know, facilitated out of her womb, you know, gave life to. Because in my mind, I think the only reason why that was beneficial for them is because when they realized they could no longer hurt you by being disrespectful to you or taking your money and then disrespecting you behind your back about how you get your money, it was okay. Like, they had to find some ways to get, well, shoot, I'm still got to take from this person. I still got to hurt this person because all they had to do was just keep giving me and we would have been fine. Like, and you could tell that's the kind of dynamic that people have, that as long as you're still giving them, then you're okay. But the second that first no comes out, that's when the pendulum starts swinging. And it's like, then the landslide starts to roll. And it's downhill from there. And for me personally, in the situation that I'm going through, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, the only thing that has yet to happen for me specifically, they did not take my child from me. Like, but I'm thinking, like, there are other ways to take a person's livelihood from them. And some people start by trying to take your respect. Some people start by trying to take your dignity. Some people start by trying to drag your name through the mud. They do it in all type of inverse ways. And some people directly just get malicious and vindictive towards you and disrespectful. And I recognize why the other young lady that I watched on here was saying, like, it's time to start being disliked, because being likable is not going to help you in the situation where people are out to take advantage. And as soon as you set that barrier in the beginning, that's not what you're trying to do, that's not what you're not about, then they understand. Like, at least you put your boundaries down. You were letting them know, this is not it. This is not what I'm going for, and this is not what I'm going to allow. And you know, I'm going to continue to adjust that within my own personal way and my own story, and try to, you know, further that with my, you know, well-being and my decisions for myself, because I feel personally that I was watching these two young ladies go through what they went through and understanding that, like, damn, I could be in any one of the situation or even worse. There are too many good people in this world at this moment being taken advantage of simply because they want to be nice people. And then you start to understand why there's so many hard-ass women out there, because it's not safe to be nice to anyone. to be considering, to be grateful. Well, especially to people who, for you, you're just a transaction. You're not a person to them. You don't have emotions. You don't have feelings. You're fucking a tool to be used in their perspective. So of course, this is just a check-in on that, and this is also, I guess, another notch in my evolution of understanding that I'm a being that deserves respect. I deserve love. I deserve to be treated like a human being and not transactional, whether they accept that or not. And I think I convey this to anyone at this moment, to accept that within your life too. I wouldn't say that you have to do what I'm doing, which is intentionally making sure that, putting your foot down or burning bridges, that's unnecessary. I mean, I say you can start with a conversation. Start with just trying to wean out the people who actually have your best interest in mind and start just going from there. Because that's the best thing we can do as people at this point, is to learn from others and try to be better in ourselves. And of course, this is a meta moment, and I thank you guys for joining me in this installment. And of course, I'll be trying my best to be more consecutive within the situation, but shit happens. We're all human, and things are just been really slow for me at this moment in this development. But I guess time will tell, and mistakes have to be made so that we can have a better outcome. And take care, guys. Love ya.
Hey, you be on that thought shit though. That's some good game though. Like, that thought shit is strong. I'm impressed. I like that song from Megan Thee Stallion. Hands on my knees and did thought shit.